Welcome to our deep dive into the world of AI and how it might just reshape our future. We're taking a deep dive into Ray Kurzweil's 2024 book, The Singularity is Nearer. It's all about how AI, nanotechnology, and biotechnology are all converging. And get this, Kurzweil says we're actually closer to creating superhuman AI than we are to the release of his last books. Kind of a bold statement when you think about how much technology has jumped ahead in the past few years.
It really hits you with that urgency. It makes you think, how fast is technology really moving? And what does that mean for us?
Right. It's mind-boggling to think about. One of the core ideas Kurzweil talks about is the law of accelerating returns, LOAR for short. And this isn't just some theory. We see it happening all around us. The technologies that help us understand information, they create these feedback loops. And those lead to exponential growth and innovation. Think of it this way. The printing press led to more inventors. Faster computers help design even faster computers. And the internet. Well, that lets us share ideas super fast. It's like a chain reaction of progress.
And that brings us to AI. That growth isn't just impacting tech in general. It's the big reason why AI is advancing so fast. Computational power is going through the roof, and at the same time, the cost is plummeting.
So back in 1939, the first programmable computer, it could only do a tiny 0.0000065 computations per second for every 2023 dollar. Kind of funny when you compare it to what we have today.
Now we have these Google Cloud TPU V5e chips. They can do a crazy 130 billion operations per second per dollar. It's insane how far computing power has come. And the key is that it's becoming more and more accessible. That's what's pushing those breakthroughs in medicine manufacturing, even in our daily lives.
But Kurzweil doesn't stop there. He takes that exponential growth idea and looks at the human brain. He's predicting that by the 2030s, we'll be connecting our neocortex. That's the part of our brain that does the high-level thinking directly to the cloud using nanobots. So just imagine, you'd have thousands, maybe even millions of times more brain power right there at your fingertips.
Think about being able to get information instantly, process data in a flash. You could even think in ways we can't even dream of right now. It's like sci-fi becoming reality.
It is mind-blowing. It's like having some super-powered AI assistant plugged right into your brain. The possibilities are endless. But with that much brain power, we got to think about the ethics and the philosophy of it all.
It's not just about the tech. It's about how that tech changes what it means to be human. We have to ask the hard questions. What happens to our identity? How do we keep things private when our thoughts could be accessed?
And even more basic than that, how does all of this change what consciousness actually is? Kurzweil really digs into these topics in his book. It's pretty fascinating to explore these ideas along with him.
One of the biggest things he looks at is the hard problem of consciousness. How do the physical things in our brain create our experiences? What does being conscious even mean? What if we could make a perfect digital copy of your brain? Would that copy be conscious too? Would it be you?
Makes you really think about what the self is. If we could put our consciousness into something non-biological, would we still be human? Or would we be something totally new?
These questions are tough, but that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. It's not just understanding the tech. It's about thinking about those big philosophical and existential questions that AI brings up.
And speaking of the future, AI is going to have a huge impact on the way we work.
No doubt, AI is ready to shake things up. A lot of jobs that humans do are going to be done by AI. Automation is going to reshape whole industries. Some jobs just won't exist anymore.
I think that's one of the biggest fears people have, robots taking their jobs. It's understandable.
It is. But Kurzweil has a different perspective. He says that, yeah, there will be job losses, but AI will also create more wealth and prosperity for everyone.
He says it's not about robots taking over, it's about us shifting our focus. AI can do those basic repetitive tasks, which frees us up to focus on bigger things, creative stuff, self-actualization.
That's a good point. Look back at the Industrial Revolution. Jobs in agriculture disappeared. But new ones popped up in manufacturing and other areas. Societies changed. But they came out better in the end.
That's a good reminder. Throughout history, we've always seen technology disrupt things, but we always find a way to adapt and create new opportunities. The key is to reskill and upskill people. We need to make sure people are ready to thrive in the new economy that AI is creating.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't just focus on the tech. We have to address the social and economic impacts too. We need to work towards a future where everyone benefits from AI, not just a select few.
Now let's talk about something that gets everyone's imagination going, superintelligent AI. Kurzweil jumps right into this idea. He talks about AI that's smarter than humans in every way.
It's exciting and scary at the same time. Just imagine AI solving huge problems like climate change, advancing science at an incredible pace. even making life better for everyone on the planet. But the dangers are just as big.
It's like a double-edged sword. What if someone uses it for bad things? What about unintended consequences that we can't control? Or even risks that threaten humanity itself? It's like something out of a sci-fi movie, but with real consequences.
Developing superintelligent AI brings up a ton of ethical questions. We need to make sure that AI aligns with our values, that we stop it from falling into the wrong hands, and that we have safeguards in place to reduce those risks.
That's a tall order. How do you control something that might be smarter than you?
Researchers and ethicists are struggling with that right now. The stakes are high, and finding solutions is absolutely critical.
All right, let's change gears a bit. Let's talk about nanotechnology. Now, this is where things start to sound like science fiction. We're talking about manipulating matter at the atomic level.
Pretty mind-boggling, but also pretty exciting.
It does sound like something straight out of a movie, but nanotechnology is becoming real fast, and the impact is going to be massive. We need to understand what this tech could mean for our future.
Imagine being able to create almost any physical product at almost no cost. It's the dream of abundance. No more scarcity. We could make anything we need right when we need it. Medicine, sustainable energy solutions, anything.
Sounds amazing. But like any powerful tech, there are risks. And when you're messing with matter at the atomic level, those risks can be pretty scary. Like self-replicating nanobots eating everything on Earth. The gray goo scenario.
It's a real concern. We can't ignore it. Responsible development is essential. Strict regulations, strong safety protocols, those are all crucial when we're dealing with something as powerful as nanotechnology.
Sounds like we need to be careful. But the potential benefits are just too big to ignore. It's a tough balance.
Definitely. Nanotechnology could change so many things. Manufacturing medicine, energy production, even fixing the environment. It's a tech that could help us solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
Speaking of revolutionizing things, Kurzweil is surprisingly optimistic about extending our lives. In his book, he talks about his vision for making humans live much longer, using biotech, nanotech, and AI-driven healthcare.
He calls them bridges to radical life extension. Imagine beating diseases that have been around for centuries, repairing damage in our cells at the molecular level. It's like hitting pause on aging.
Like a real-life fountain of youth.
Not quite a fountain, but the science is coming along fast. We're seeing breakthroughs in regenerative medicine, gene editing, personalized healthcare. All of this is setting the stage for a future where aging isn't inevitable anymore.
Imagine living in a world where getting old just isn't a thing. That would change our whole perspective on life and what it means to be human.
It's a huge shift in how we think. Of course, achieving what Kurzweil calls longevity escape velocity, that's going to take a lot of effort and investment. But the rewards are massive.
Longevity escape velocity. Now that's a term we got to unpack a bit. Might sound like Star Trek, but Kurzweil takes this seriously.
It's basically the point where medical technology is advancing faster than we age. So for every year that passes, we gain more than a year of life expectancy. It's the tipping point, where we could keep pushing back the limits of how long humans can live. Forever.
This idea of outrunning aging and makes you think about what it would mean for society, our relationships, even how we see death itself.
It really does make us rethink some basic things about being human. And Kurzweil does that really well in his book. He doesn't shy away from those big philosophical and ethical questions that come up.
One thing that stood out to me was how Kurzweil connects these tech leaps to understanding ourselves better. He says understanding how AI works can actually help us understand human consciousness and identity.
It's like looking into a mirror. When we try to make something as complex as human intelligence, we have to face some basic questions about what makes us human.
You're right. And Kurzweil doesn't just ask the questions, he gives some pretty interesting answers. Like he talks about how consciousness might not be limited to living things. He says that if we can create AI that processes information and is self-aware like humans, then it's possible those AI systems could be conscious too.
That's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah.
Thinking that consciousness could exist outside a brain. It challenges our whole idea of what it means to be alive and aware.
It does. I mean, we tend to think of consciousness as something special to living beings. But Kurzweil makes a good point that our definition of consciousness has changed over time.
Think about it. We used to think only humans can think rationally and have emotions. Now we know that animals can do those things too. So it's not crazy to think that our understanding of consciousness could keep changing as AI evolves.
So is Kurzweil saying that AI could eventually become a new kind of intelligent life?
He doesn't say it's impossible. He argues that if AI can learn, adapt, and even create, then it has the potential to evolve in ways we can't even imagine.
That's both exciting and a little scary. What if AI gets smarter than us? Do we lose control?
It's a real concern. And Kurzweil knows that superintelligent AI has potential risks. That's why he talks about developing AI ethically. We need to make sure these systems line up with our values, and we need to build in safeguards to prevent accidents.
He even compares the risks of superintelligent AI to the threat of nuclear war.
It's a serious comparison, but it shows how big of a challenge this is. The decisions we make now about how we create and use AI will affect the future of humanity.
It's a big responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity. If we can use AI for good, we could solve some of humanity's biggest problems.
For sure. AI could completely change fields like healthcare, energy, and education. It could help us build a better world. But we have to approach this technology with both caution and hope.
All right, let's jump into another technology that Kurzweil thinks is important for our future, nanotechnology. This idea of manipulating matter at the atomic level, it sounds like pure science fiction. But like we saw with AI, what seems like science fiction today could be real tomorrow.
It's amazing to think about, being able to move atoms and molecules around to create brand new materials with properties we can only dream of. It's like playing with the building blocks of the universe.
So how does nanotechnology work? How do you even control something as small as an atom?
There are different ways to do it. But one way is to use super precise tools, like scanning tunneling microscopes or atomic force microscopes. These let scientists see and touch individual atoms. Imagine picking up an atom and putting it exactly where you want it.
That's incredible. So
Yeah.
what could we use this technology for? It seems like the possibilities are endless.
They really are. Kurzweil talks about a future where we can use nanotechnology to make almost anything.
So are we talking about a future where we can make any object on demand by manipulating atoms? Like 3D printing, but way more advanced.
Pretty much. But instead of plastic or metal, we're talking about building things atom by atom. This would let us create materials that are super strong but super light, materials that heal themselves when they're damaged, even materials that can change their properties whenever we want.
That's getting pretty sci-fi. But Kurzweil says these things aren't that far off.
He thinks nanotechnology combined with AI and biotechnology will completely change manufacturing. We could have a world where there's more than enough of everything, no more scarcity.
It's a pretty amazing vision. But like we talked about before, with great power comes great responsibility. We have to think about the risks, too. We talked about the gray goose scenario before, that nightmare where nanobots go crazy and consume everything.
It's something we need to worry about. It shows why it's so important to develop this technology responsibly and to have careful rules and regulations. We need to make sure that we're not just creating powerful tech, but also making sure it's safe and helpful for humanity.
It's like walking a tightrope, balancing the incredible potential of this technology with the need for caution and ethical thinking.
Exactly. We need to think carefully about what might happen and make sure we're not accidentally causing more problems than we're solving.
Well, let's talk about something a little more positive now. Life extension. This idea of living longer has fascinated people forever. The search for immortality, the dream of cheating death.
It's a deep human desire to live longer, to experience more, to have a long and healthy life. And while immortality might still be a fantasy, Kurzweil is pretty sure that we're close to making human lives much longer.
He makes a good argument in the book. He outlines what he calls the 3 bridges to radical life extension.
These bridges are 3 areas of science that Kurzweil thinks will come together and change healthcare completely and make us live longer. Let's look at them one by one.
Yeah, let's start with bridge number 1.
Bridge 1 is all about using biotechnology to understand aging and to change those biological processes. We're seeing amazing progress already with things like gene editing, stem cell therapy, and personalized medicine.
So basically, we're trying to crack the code of aging, to figure out what makes our bodies break down over time.
Right, and not just understand it, but change it. The goal is to slow down or even reverse the damage that builds up in our cells. Imagine being able to grow back damaged tissues, fix broken genes, and boost your body's own repair systems.
That would be incredible, like giving our bodies a total upgrade.
Now, Bridge 2 takes us to nanotechnology. Kurzweil sees a future where we can use tiny nanobots to fix cell damage, deliver targeted treatments, even get rid of harmful stuff in our bodies.
Like having a tiny repair crew working inside us 24/7, always keeping us healthy.
Exactly. And because these nanobots would be programmed to focus on specific cells and tissues, they'd be really good at stopping and treating diseases. Imagine giving someone chemo that only targets cancer cells, or fixing heart attack damage at the cellular level.
Okay, so we've got biotechnology and nanotechnology working together to fight aging and disease. What about Bridge 3?
Bridge 3 is all about artificial intelligence. Kurzweil believes AI will be super important for creating personalized treatments, predicting health risks, even designing new drugs and therapies.
Like having a super smart doctor in your pocket, always analyzing your health data and giving you advice.
That's a great way to put it. AI could look at your genes, your lifestyle choices, even your environment, and give you personalized health advice and preventative care. It could help us find potential problems before they even start, so we can stay healthy.
It sounds like these three bridges, biotechnology, nanotechnology, and AI, are all working together to create a totally new way of thinking about healthcare.
They are. Kurzweil sees them as converging technologies. That will change how we approach health and longevity.
Now, I know this might sound crazy, but Kurzweil is pretty specific about when he thinks we'll achieve radical life extension.
He thinks we'll hit longevity escape velocity in the next few decades. Remember, we talked about this earlier. It's when medical technology is improving faster than we're aging. So every year we gain more than a year of life.
So we could keep living longer and longer. It's pretty mind-blowing. But what would that mean for society?
That's a big question. Think about how it would affect retirement healthcare systems, population growth, even our understanding of death. It would change so much about how we live.
It's a future that's both exciting and scary. And Kurzweil talks about both the good and the bad things that could happen. He even has a whole chapter in his book about the philosophy and ethics of living much longer.
And that's a conversation we need to have now. As we're developing these technologies, it's not just about the science. It's also about the ethical and social impacts.
Absolutely. We need to create a future where everyone benefits from these advances. A future where we use these technologies to make people's lives better and to create a fairer world.
I agree. It's about creating a culture of lifelong learning, adaptability, and working together.
Okay, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more idea from Kurzweil's book that really stuck with me. And it's a big one, the singularity.
Ah, yes, the singularity. It's an idea that has fascinated scientists, futurists, and sci-fi writers for ages. It's the point where AI becomes smarter than humans. And that sets off a chain reaction of rapid technological change that completely changes our world.
Sounds like something out of a sci-fi novel, but Kurzweil says it could really happen and that we're getting closer to it fast. So what does he think will happen when we reach the singularity? What will that future look like?
Kurzweil thinks the singularity will usher in an era of incredible abundance, creativity, and human potential. He sees a future where we merge with technology, break free from our biological limits, and expand our consciousness beyond anything we can imagine today.
It's a bold and exciting vision of the future. But I have to admit, it's hard to understand. What does it really mean to merge with technology? Or to go beyond our biological limitations?
It's a tough concept to grasp, but Kurzweil suggests it could involve things like connecting our brains directly to the cloud, uploading our consciousness into something non-biological, or even creating entirely new forms of intelligent life. It's a future where the lines between human and machine, between biological and artificial, get blurry.
It sounds like we're talking about a fundamental shift in what it means to be human.
Exactly. Kurzweil believes the singularity will be a huge turning point in human history, a transition to a new era of intelligence and existence. And while we can't predict exactly what will happen, one thing's for sure, it will be unlike anything we've ever seen before.
It's both thrilling and scary to think about. This deep dive into Kurzweil's book has left me feeling a lot of things. Amazement, excitement, even a little bit of fear.
That's a normal reaction. Kurzweil's ideas are profound and challenging. They make us question what we think about reality, the limits of what humans can do, and even the meaning of life itself.
But they're also really important ideas to think about. We're living in a time of rapid technological change, and the choices we make now will affect the future. It's our responsibility to shape that future in a way that's good for everyone.
We all share that responsibility.
Right.
We need to approach these technologies with curiosity and wonder, but also with caution and ethical awareness.
You know, as we've been talking about all these advances, it's pretty amazing how much AI is changing our relationship with information itself. It wasn't that long ago that if you wanted to learn something, you had to really work for it. You'd read books, go to lectures, spend hours in the library.
True. Getting information used to take so much longer. But now, with AI search engines and virtual assistants, information is getting more personalized and easier to find. It's like having a huge digital library right there in your pocket.
And Kurzweil says this change will have a huge impact on how we teach future generations. He talks about a future where AI tutors can create custom lessons for each student based on how they learn best.
Imagine every student having their own personal AI tutor, available anytime to help them learn. Like having a teacher who knows exactly what you're good at and what you need help with.
That would be amazing for students and teachers, but it makes you think about what happens to human teachers in that kind of future. Will their jobs disappear?
Kurzweil doesn't think so. He sees AI as a tool to help teachers do their jobs better, not to replace them. Teachers can use AI to create personalized lessons, give specific feedback, and make learning more exciting.
So it's more about working together than competing.
Exactly. AI can take care of some of the boring stuff like grading papers or giving basic instructions. That gives teachers more time to do what they're best at, mentoring students, being creative, and encouraging critical thinking.
It's a shift from just giving out information to actually helping people learn.
Right. And that shift could make education so much better, more personal, engaging, and effective.
I want to go back to something we talked about before, AI's impact on jobs. We can't ignore that a lot of people are worried about robots taking over. And it's a valid fear when AI is getting smarter all the time.
I get it. We're already seeing AI doing jobs that humans used to do. And as AI keeps getting better, it's probably going to change even more industries.
So how can we get ready for this future of work? How can we stay ahead and make sure we have the skills we need to succeed in an AI-powered world?
One way is to focus on skills that are uniquely human, things that AI can't do easily, like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and solving complex problems.
So we need to focus on skills that require us to really understand human nature, to have empathy, and to navigate tricky social situations.
Exactly. Those are the areas where humans will still have an advantage, at least for now.
It's not just about learning technical stuff. It's about getting better at those human qualities that make us adaptable, resilient, and innovative.
Absolutely. And it's about always being willing to learn new things. The jobs of the future will be constantly changing. We need to be ready to adapt, learn new skills, and even reinvent ourselves throughout our careers.
So education and training are going to be super important in this transition. We need to give people the tools they need to handle this new world.
For sure. We need to invest in education that prepares people for the jobs that will exist in the future, not the jobs that are disappearing. And we need to make sure people have chances to retrain and learn new skills throughout their lives.
It's a challenge for all of us, not just individuals. We have to work together to create a future where everyone has the chance to thrive in the age of AI.
Couldn't agree more. It's about creating a culture where we value learning adaptability and working together.
Well, this deep dive into Ray Kurzweil's The Singularity is Nearer has been quite a journey. We've talked about some really amazing ideas, from the rapid growth of AI and the power of nanotechnology, to living much longer and the mind-blowing possibilities of the singularity. It's clear that we're living in a time of incredible technological change. The future is right here in front of us, and it's full of amazing opportunities and tough challenges.
It's a future that encourages us to think big, to push the limits of what we think is possible. But it also requires us to think carefully, to act ethically, and to make sure these powerful technologies benefit everyone.
It's a future that we're all creating together, through the choices we make and the things we do. As we wrap up this deep dive, I hope you're feeling curious and excited about the future, and that you want to be a part of shaping it.
It's a future worth thinking about, exploring, and ultimately creating together.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Stay curious and keep those imaginations open. Until next time.